Okay. Perfect. Okay, welcome. Thanks for coming. So I'll preface this with there may be some emotion. There's probably going to be some emotion. There's going to be a lot of detail. There's going to be a lot of personal that I'm completely okay with sharing. So I wouldn't share it if I didn't feel okay with it. And a lot of you probably know a good chunk of my personal story too. So this may not come as a surprise, some of the things that I'm going to say. But that being said, I just got back a week ago today from Costa Rica. I have tested negative 3 times for the COVID virus during and after. I had the privilege of spending a whole week at Rythmia with 85 souls that are now like family to me because of what we all went through. And this slideshow is going to show you some of the amazing beauty of Rythmia. I have some pictures of the grounds, and it all first started with an idea 4 or 5 years ago. Ayahuasca was kind of like secretly whispering to me quietly, and we had the privilege of going to Costa Rica for Caitlin and Jack's surprise wedding, which was it 4 years ago, 3 years ago? I think it was 3.
2018.
2018. And I had already seen Rythmia advertised to me on Facebook, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I looked into it, and it kind of like rang true to me a little bit. And we ended up renting a little villa with a majority of the people that are on this chat about 3 blocks away from Rythmia. And I took that as a sign from the universe that I missed the spot and that I would be back. And so then COVID happened, and I was like, okay, I know why I'm on this planet, or at least it makes sense because I'm watching this world kind of like crumble, or at least in my perception at the time, it was crumbling. And so I decided in, I believe it was November, and I put the down payment on Rythmia in December to go, because they were doing very good COVID protocols and everything. And so everything kind of just fell into place. And ever since I paid for Rythmia, I'll tell you the total, $5,000. Ever since I paid that total, my life changed. There was something like the universe basically was like, hold my beer and also hold my hand, let's go. And so I was very emotional on my way there. And one of the synchronicities that I'll talk about is like the outpouring of support from friends and family that were like, this is good for you. This is going to be great. And so I get off the airplane. It's hot as hell. I'm wearing jeans and a face visor and 2 masks because I was being very safe, because I did not want to get COVID on the airplane, even though I've been on 5 airplanes now since COVID and have yet to contract COVID from an airplane. But we got there, this gentleman with a sign for Rythmia picks us up at the airport, and they proceed to indoctrinate us with their branding as they do. And there's an hour-long video for the 1.5 hour long drive to Guanacaste, Pinilla. And it's the owner of the resort telling us what we're in for and what we can expect. And they had this great little like bag of nuts and dried fruits that we could eat. And then we got to the resort, and the check-in process was actually pretty simple, pretty easy. And it was the first point where we were like, oh shit, this is where it's real. We are about to do 4 sessions of ayahuasca, which I've never done before, but I've heard about. And also just, we really didn't have to worry about anything. Everything that was there was ready for us to be taken in. So when you first come in, this is what you're greeted with, is the front desk. And at the time there was a COVID tent that they were like doing the spit test, which was weird. They made you like spit into a tube. And then you're like, you go to medical, they whisk you away to medical. You're still wearing a mask, and you sit down and you have a medical meeting with the staff there, and they take your blood pressure and everything and ask you about your past and things like that. And one of the things that I was afraid to say was that I had suicidal ideations in the past a few times. And every single thing that I said, the guy was like, this'll help. This'll help. Ayahuasca will help. It's going to help you. And I'm like, the ego in me is like, this is crazy. Ayahuasca can't help everything. It can't help high blood pressure and insert every ailment that you have, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, whatever. But they were all very nice. But the entire time I was feeling triggered. And that's part of the journey, is watching your mind go through its normal reaction, usually, and not allowing. And so then we got cleared to go to our rooms, and we checked in. I tried to get a better picture here, but this is the best one that I could get of the room. The room is beautiful. I was sharing it with a friend that lives down the street from me. He heard that I was coming and asked if he could come, because I chose to go the week that I don't know if you're Michael Beckwith.
Hey, Jeremy.
Yes.
Hey, Jeremy, it's Jack. Hi.
Yes. Hi.
Your screen is not sharing very well. Would you mind stopping and restarting?
Stopping the entire thing and restarting?
Yeah, just stop the screen share and then restart, please.
Okay, perfect. Let's do that. Exit.
Is it just us? Oh, there we go.
Can we see now?
Yes, thank you.
Yay. So the only thing you missed was, I'll start one slide back. And then we'll go back into it. Here we are. There's all these little Easter Island heads everywhere. There's also all these little Buddha heads everywhere. We got through to medical, and this is the room. Beautiful, pretty. Everything was like pretty well thought off. There's 2 desks and these 2 crazy paintings that really were like, okay, this is what we're in for. And also, I'm scared to look at these while I'm on drugs. And they were right in front of the bed, just as a reminder that what you're about to experience is not what you probably first perceived. So the
Jeremy,
property,
can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
So you went there with one of your friends.
Yes.
Looking back, would you want to go alone, or would you still want to have someone in the room? Like, do you feel like you had enough alone time to process?
So they have a couple of lodging options. You can stay in a bedroom with 3 twin beds, which is the cheapest lodging, and you share it with 3 other individuals. And then there's the 2 queen beds, and then there's a king room. And really, my ego says I would have gone alone, but I wouldn't have had the experience that I had without the people that were absolutely connected. And that's the point where I'm like, okay, it was supposed to happen this way. And I think it was just because the person that I went with triggered me a good amount, but it was to show me that that's what I needed to change in myself, in a way. The property, once you're allowed to like just kind of like go free, which was so weird to walk around people without a mask on, especially strangers. The property is like an acid trip. It literally has the most beautiful plants, the most beautiful statues. The grass has these beautiful purple flowers in it, like the tiniest little purple flowers that if you're just present enough to notice, they're there. The trees, you'll see in a slide coming up, there's this one tree that I gave a lot of hugs to, on the left here. It's this gigantic tree. I think it's called a capao tree or a capo tree. I could be incorrect about that. But do you see the like acid trip of bark? Like the green, wacky, like that's just the bark. The colors are amazing. And it's hollow. You knock it and it goes thunk, 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 like completely hollow. It was amazing. And it's at the like apex of the property. The whole place has been thoughtfully designed, and the staff is just absolutely on top of almost everything. And that's only because I work in customer service that I say almost everything, like luxury customer care. And there's like gardeners and everybody's so beautiful. They just put in this brand new saltwater pool right before I got there, which was like a really nice touch. I'm just going to check something here. And let me know too if you at any time have any questions. So once we're in, we came in on a Saturday. And so what we got to witness was we were witnessing the people that had just had their week of transformation were pretty much still there. And they were all checking out either that evening or Sunday morning. So there was only about 12 of the 85 people that were going to be coming that were there that evening. And the people that were there that had already been there were absolutely radiant. They had smiles on their faces that you were like, I was like, what the fuck are you smiling about? Like annoyed at how happy they were. And only until after did I understand why they were so fucking happy. And so that night we land, they have these two little dogs wandering around the property, Akela and Galaxy. They're called the shaman dogs. And Akela up at the top really doesn't give a shit about anything. And Galaxy's like a big lover. And so they're part of the journey the entire way. And then to the right is the schedule when you walk in. Everything is scheduled for you. And so the second you get in, they're like, you see the little red dots are free time. You don't have much free time until the end of the week, really. And the free time that you do have is an hour here, 30 minutes there. And they ask you to schedule your colonics, your massages, and your, there was something else that I'm totally blanking on right now, but you schedule those things in your free time. And in a normal world where COVID didn't exist, you would be able to go to the beach. But at this moment in time, it was literally a locked down compound patrolled by security with barbed wire fences. But normally you would have access to the beach, which is beautiful and amazing. But there's so much stuff to do there that, and you don't have really a lot of time to mess around. I just wanted to show that because I remember when I first checked in, I was like, Jesus Christ, look at all that stuff we got to do. And so the first night was Saturday night, and we had breath work, which is the first time I've ever done a breath work class. If you want to talk about COVID anxiety triggering, go into a room of 55 people and breathe through your open mouth with all of them without a mask on. And so I was being triggered pretty hard by this thought. And I went and spoke to a manager like a good Karen. And she tried to placate me in the best way that she could. And she then started talking about metaphysics and how Mother Ayahuasca would never let anyone get COVID while you were here. And I was like, that's all fine and good, but also COVID exists. So there's that. And we walked away with the agreement of I would get a socially distanced one of these bed things, still in a room full of people breathing with their open mouth. And so the first night was amazing and horrible, but that's the whole experience in a nutshell, is amazing and horrible at the same time. So we sit there and we breathe open mouth for an hour and a half. And during this, every once in a while, somebody will come around and put their hand on you or something like that to assist you breathing a little better. And I had like almost an outer body experience. And I was able to witness my energetic body, not my body, but my energetic body. And at one point, my hands became glowing orbs, which is actually something I've experienced before through Reiki. And there's something that I'll talk about a lot is there's this inner voice and this voice that comes to you throughout your stay at Rythmia while you're on the drugs. And I call her Pachamama or Mama Aya or just your inner knowing. And they told me in that first breathwork class that I was supposed to heal millions of people on this planet. And I don't know how, but that's something that rung true. And in this Miloka, which is the temple, which is where all of the ceremonies happen, where there's yoga, where there's the ayahuasca ceremonies and these breathwork ceremonies, they have these beautiful wood carvings of these crazy sacred geometric patterns that, like, if you just really look at them, they're insane. And then when you look at them while you're on ayahuasca, you're like even more insane. And then the next day after that, I booked a massage, which was fantastic. It was really good to be able to like help me relax. And the more that you're there, the more the like kind of COVID anxieties went away. They do temperature checks at least once a day on the guests, but all of the service providers are wearing masks, every single one of them except for like the shamans. But so the massage was fantastic. They have hot and cool plunge, and they have this amazing sauna. They also have volcanic mud stuff that I didn't really want to rub on my skin, but it's there if you want it. And then they ask you to do the maze. Before you do any of the medicine, they ask you to walk the there's a word for it, labyrinth. That's what they call it. And they give you this little beaded bracelet, which has 6 white beads and on either end. And they tell you to walk the maze, and at every turn on the maze, you put an intention that you want to set down, like an anxiety or whatever. So you can leave it in this bracelet for the time being. And that actually was very helpful. And I did it before the first ceremony. And the next night, or that Sunday, we did another breathwork class where we were just breathing alone with new strangers this time that just got off of airplanes. And also the anxiety was, there's old people here, lots and lots of old people. There were, old people is relative, but lots of gray hair, lots of like, this woman could be my grandmother. We're all there to do ayahuasca. And that was scary for me too with the COVID anxiety, because I'm like, these people could potentially die from COVID. All things that Pachamama wanted me to see and learn and witness in myself. So I put a picture of this, it's a cup of ayahuasca. It doesn't look like the one they give you. They actually give you this cup if you want to look in my little screen. They give you your own little Rythmia cup, and it's a little like ceramic cup. And they give you that in this like, here, I'll unshare the screen for a second so I can show you everything. Am I bigger now? Can you see me? No. How do we do this?
Stop sharing the red button.
Stop sharing. How about now?
Good. Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So before we go into the first ceremony, which is going to be a roller coaster ride for everybody involved. I just want to see everybody while I'm talking to you. They give you this great bag. And in this bag, they give you your workbook. They give you a water bottle with branding, of course, on it. And they also give you another little bag. And this bag has tokens in it. And the tokens are used for your colonics, your massages, your plant medicine, I bought the juice package for an extra fee, which I actually was extremely thankful I did. But also at the end of the week, I started hating it because I'm like, ugh. And then they give you a couple other things throughout your stay. Like I got a hat, and I went with their, this is Mr. Beckwith, which I'm sure you probably know from The Secret. He was there that week. And before we went into the first ceremony, they had a plant integration introduction class where the owner of the resort told his experience, why and how he bought the place, and then what to and how to, even as detailed to the appropriate way to throw up while you're on ayahuasca, which is very interesting. And so,
you can't leave us hanging. What's the proper way to throw up?
I can illustrate for you if you'd like. I just have to move some things around. So you want to be like this on all fours and go down onto your arms and then throw up into the bucket like that. They tell you, please do not tilt your body in any way while you're throwing up. Don't tilt your neck, because they're like, the shit that's going to come out is toxic, acidic, gross, terrible, and it can really burn if it gets stuck in your throat. They also say, just listen to your body. That's one of the things that they talk a lot about, and it's very true. Listen to your body. And so that's the way that you throw up when you're on ayahuasca. And so they go through everything. They tell you the breathing, they tell you to like allow, they tell you, if you see a beautiful rainbow unicorn being like, come ride me, let's do the rainbows together. And then your creepy uncle, they're like, do not go to the rainbow unicorn. However fun it looks like, please go to your creepy uncle, because that's where the learning lesson lies. They also have a structure of 3, which is show me who I've become, merge me with my soul, and heal my heart. That's the like, what they tell you on your 4 plant medicines to do is the first night they always say, show me who I've become. And so that was my intention entering into the first night. And I was like, oh God, here we go. Let's see who I've become. But I guess what I'm trying to say here is they really prepare you for what you're about to go through. At least you have a very base level understanding of what's about to happen. And now with that, I'm going to share the first ceremony with you. So there's that beautiful cup of ayahuasca, which is similar to like a very thick espresso shot, but it tastes like dirt and prunes and molasses all mixed together. And each night we actually did a different like brand of ayahuasca, like a different lineage of ayahuasca from a different like village or a different shaman. And the first night we did a type from Brazil, and it was a wacky ride because the aliens have landed and you have no control. Have a nice trip. Remember?
What drug or what is the active agent, if you will, in this ayahuasca?
DMT.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. DMT is the main ingredient that shoots you to the stars. There's also a vine in it, which is the actual ayahuasca vine that contains an enzyme in it that allows you to digest DMT. Because I could drink a whole like coffee cup of DMT right now and my body would just like assimilate it and put it out. I wouldn't get high at all.
Mm-hmm.
But if I have the enzyme taken out of my stomach that stops it,
Mm-hmm.
you would get really high.
So Jeremy, when you see that cup, what is your body like when you look at that cup?
Well, this is, I don't know if you missed it, but this is the actual cup that sent me on my 4 rocket ship journeys this past month.
So
and
now what does your body do when you hold that or see that?
If you would have asked me the week that I was still in ceremony, I would be like, get this thing away from me. And also the smell of molasses makes me angry. And that's because of my last ceremony that I'll talk about. But now actually, I'm looking forward to using this cup in the future, whenever that is. And you can see in the pictures here that this is what the Maloka looks like. You're called at 5:30. You're not allowed to eat anything after 2 p.m. and you're called to ceremony at 5:30. And at ceremony, you sit and you wait with all of the other souls that are about to enter this journey with you. And there was a couple of them there that are like, this is my 3rd time here, or this is my 5th time with ayahuasca. And they were like pros. And I was like, you guys are way too happy for this.
Did anyone change their mind?
Not that I'm aware of on the first night.
Okay.
I was scared as hell because I had no idea really what I was going into. They did tell you things that I'll tell you further, but I don't want to give away anything. They gave you a couple of things like, you might see this, you might see that, get ready for this. And we're going to talk about that because I saw them in the first trip. And if you look down to the bottom left, the bed in the forefront is actually my first bed that I actually experienced this journey on. And it's all amazingly branded. Like the blankets have Rythmia's logo on it. The buckets that you throw up in have Rythmia's logo on it. And it was like the hospitality person in me really appreciated that. And then also the little nervous Nancy really appreciated that it was a licensed hospital in the eyes of Costa Rica. And there were medical staff. And there was one thing that you don't want to see before you go into an ayahuasca ceremony is they have like a gurney set up just in case they need to take somebody out. So the first ceremony commences. You come in, you're allowed to go in. They have these little key fobs that they have you scan into everything you do there, just to track you data-wise to make sure that you've done everything. And you scan, you hand them the token that says plant medicine on it, and then they do your temperature. And that made me feel safe the first night. I'm like, oh, let me turn my light back on. Because I was like, great, they're testing everybody. And so the first night you come into the Maloka, all of these beds everywhere, and you just choose a bed. That's just the thing to do. I took a before picture of me because I really thought it would be poignant to be at least able to be like, oh, that's what I was before this. Because I knew my life was about to change. And so again, the theme of this is the aliens have landed and you have no control. You come in and you find your space. Hold on. And there's just beds everywhere. And you're like trying to figure out where, at least I was, which bed, which one's the right one, which energetically, what about which one's closest to the bathroom? All these like monkey mind things are going through your head while you're about to choose it. And after everybody's found their bed, they ask you to come up for an opening circle. And the opening circle is very beautiful because all the shamans, there's usually every night there was about 4 to 6 what they called elders at the front of the room that were the shamans that were going to do the whole ceremony. And then throughout the entirety of the rest of the Maloka, in corners and areas, there are other stations of other shamans. And I counted about 14 shamans there, which made me feel safe. At least there's 14 other people there that their job is to make sure I'm okay. And that made me like at least feel a little better. After the opening ceremony where they kind of tell you what to expect, they ask for us to go back to our beds, and while they bless the medicine, and blessing the medicine was something to really watch, which was really beautiful. The elders got up and they danced and they waved these crazy feather fans and leaves that make all these noise. And all of the shamans every single night they had some sort of noisemaker on them. So you would know a shaman was walking past you, even with your eyes closed, because you could hear their noisemakers on them.
What was the noisemaker? What noise did they make?
It's very, hold on, let me see this. It's very, can you hear that? It's very like, but imagine this times 20 around their neck, just shake, shake, shake. They also had these leaf bundles that would be like, very feather-like. There was a lot of wacky fucking noises that, especially when your eyes are closed, you're like, I don't know what this is. But that's part of the experience. So after the blessing of the medicine, you're called to drink and you line up, and it's very, very beautiful. You bring your little cup, and then once you reach it, you hand it to them, and they say thank you, and they turn around and they put this drink inside of your cup and they hand it to you. And every time I was served, they said, "Goddess bless you." And the first lady that served me ayahuasca, I had a dream about the night before, and I had never met her in my entire life. And when she served me ayahuasca, I was like, oh shit, now I know I had a dream about you, Raven. And it was beautiful. And it was horrible. It tasted like garbage. And your teeth are like covered in this film. And they're like, oh, by the way, don't even think about drinking water while you're on this, because you'll throw up and be really sick. And so you're like, great. So I can't drink water and my mouth tastes like garbage. And here we go. So I go back to the bed. I was probably in the middle of the line to receive the ayahuasca. And they ask you to enter into a noble silence after you drink, where there's no noise for an hour. An excruciatingly long, painful hour of silence, where you're alone in your own little thoughts with what's about to happen. Oh my God, do I feel it? Do you feel it? Are they feeling it? What's happening? And so I'm sitting there and I start to feel my stomach get a little buzzy, and I feel my shoulders start to buzz, and I hear, like, you ever hear the ringing in your ears? Like turn that up to 20 and add a hum at the bottom of it. And I was like, oh shit, here we go. And I started to breathe. I kept breathing. And I felt my arms, my hands specifically, turn into almost wings, like feathered wings. And I'm sitting there like, holy cow, here we go. And I brought my fan with me, and I was like fanning myself because I'm like, okay, I'm getting hot. This is crazy. And that's when the voice was like, welcome to the other side. You are no longer where you thought you were. You're here. And I just remembered, thank God I had the 2 breathwork classes. I just remembered to breathe. You just need to breathe. Breathe, breathe, breathe. And they also said, keep saying your intention. Show me who I've become. And also what's coming is going.
Are these real voices or voices? These voices, are they real voices? Someone's guiding you through this, or
no,
it's in your head?
These are inside voices.
Right.
But they told they that I'm speaking of when they said what's coming is going and breathing, that was told to us before the class or before the ceremony. But the you have no control, like welcome to the other side, those were, I wouldn't even call them voices. They were like telepathic knowing. It was just a knowing. And as this ratchets up and it's like this really high vibration, it's like, and I feel my whole body just start to not become my body. And I'm like starting to shake around, and you hear other people in the room start moving around and being like, making all these weird noises. What came to me is you are the isness that is. And it just kept repeating over and over and over and over. And I'm like, I get it. I totally get it. I'm the isness that is. Like, I understand that I am all that is right now. And while this is happening, the room really fucking starts going crazy. The lights shift, people's energy really, like the noises are like, people are like, oh, making these crazy noises. This guy right next to me calls for somebody. He's like, I'm having a panic attack. And I'm the person that is worried for other people a lot. And so I'm watching this guy and I'm like worried for him. And then I'm like, no, I need to be worried about me. And the shamans start coming through with their clackers and their shakers and their like feathers and then they start pumping the smoke, which I find out now is called white copperol, which is this beautiful amber scent that's very lemony. And at the time, it's horrible. I hate it. It's gross. And now I love it. I really do. But they go through and they just fill the entire place up where it looks like it's on fire. And so I literally was like, the aliens are here. It's happening. And then like almost a loudspeaker, they were like, greetings, we have landed. You have no control. That is all. And I was like, shit, I need to tell everybody that the aliens have landed. And I can't believe I'm on ayahuasca when the contact happens. Like, oh my God. And then nobody, like none of the shamans in the room were worried that the aliens had taken control. So I was like, okay, maybe there's something to this. I don't know. Maybe I should just breathe a little bit and not worry about the aliens taking over, because apparently I don't have any control anyways. And that is when my friends, the cat-faced Buddhas, arrived. And they are like, imagine a Buddha, but make his face like a cat, almost like a monkey cat. And they were a really happy. They were really happy that I was there. And I was happy that they were happy that I was there, because that made me feel better. And so then their world turned to this. They showed me their world of these temples, and they started like interchangingly rotating like cogs of a gear. They were just rotating behind them and changing colors and morphing while they were dancing around like this. And they were like, look at it, isn't it great? This is where we live, woohoo. And I was like, you guys are great, but I'm scared as hell. And they're like, well, this is where we are and you're here, so let's hang out. And at this time I start hearing everybody starting to throw up. And that is something that will live in my brain forever. Listening to multiple people throw up. And it's it's really, really hard to explain how it feels, but your perceptions are so heightened that you're hearing every direction of where this throw up's coming from. So you're literally like, I was hearing it in all of these different directions. My eyes were closed, if I remember correctly, maybe they weren't. And you just hear bleh, 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 and then you hear it splash at the bottom of the bucket. And it was very triggering. And at that point, the Buddhas were like, remember. And I was like, what are you talking about? And they're like, remember. And then the voices, the throw up got louder and louder and louder. And they kept dancing and they're like, remember. And they're like looking at the bucket and they're like, throw up in the bucket, remember. And I'm like, shit, I don't want to throw up. So I'm sitting here fighting it and they keep dancing and telling me to remember. And then finally I get down and I hug the bucket. And as that happens, I'm transported to every time I ever threw up in my life. Like, boom, 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 boom. Remember that time you drank too much tequila? Remember that time you were a kid? Remember that, like, it was just, and it was like, that's when the Buddhists were like, remember throwing up because you're going to do it. My mouth started salivating and then I started retching. And that's when the Purge Master 5000 appeared. I call it the Purge Master 5000 because it's the only way that I can describe it. It's like my bucket turned into something that Apple designed in the future, like the year 5000, where it's a beautifully designed purge machine that is there to allow you to purge. So I'm sitting in this Purge Master with my head in it. I'm watching fractals like change and move and the light of the purge master. And I'm sitting there just throwing up, black, gross, disgusting. But I can't taste it. Actually, if I'm being honest, I don't remember what it tastes like at all. It's just, you are pulled into this new reality, which is you're throwing up and that's what you got to do. And while this is all happening, the Purge Master 5000 now with spitting shamans. So I'm throwing up. And then I feel this shaman guy or somebody come up behind me and he starts brushing my back with feathers and doing all these like whoosh, 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 whoosh sounds and like really weird sounds, which become so normal by the fourth night. And he's brushing me. And as he's brushing me, I'm feeling like I'm feeling wings open up on my back. And then he proceeds to spit on me. He puts this spit, I can't remember the name of the thing, but it's a thing they do in ceremony. Well, also, you want to talk about COVID anxiety, have somebody spit on you. Like imagine, you know, the people that do the fire spitting, like it was that level of spit on me. And then I look up, and right as I look up, he's got a skeleton face that's like morphing, and he's a bird. And I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. And then he spits in my face, literally in my face. And the only thing that I can do is smile. And I just smile at him. And then all of my like worry was gone. Totally gone. And as that happens, he leaves me. And when he leaves me, this song I'm about to play for you plays. And I basically, if you want to just take 1 minute out of your time and look at this crazy image and listen to this song, and then I'll tell you what I felt. So that song proceeds to, or starts to project me into a completely different reality that was so amazing and so fantastic and scary as hell. So this is Act 2 of Ceremony 1, The Wounded Eagle. And so after that happens, I'm like, that song's calling me. I don't know what that song's saying, but I'm like, it's here and it's saying I'm Jesus and I need to like lead the revolution. At least that's what I think at the first time. And I'm like sitting there with my fanning myself, being like sitting on my knees. And the shamans that are to my right are like looking at me, talking amongst themselves. And I'm like, I'm Jesus. They know it. They're hearing it. They know that I need to like step up and like run this show now. And no matter how crazy that sounds. So that's that. And I'm literally thinking, oh my God, I'm Jesus, this is happening. And that's when they call for another cup. And they tell you, if you can hear the call, you need to show up. And I was still too nauseous. And this lady came over to me and she told me, she's like, don't forget to breathe. There's another cup. You don't have to hang out around the bucket. Like, she's like, you'll know in enough time that you're going to throw up so you can like relax. She's like, but you should go have another drink. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. Am I going to have another drink? Because I feel terrible. And she's like, well, you'll feel better after the drink. And I was like, that doesn't sound right. How do you know that? And then at that moment, I'm like, I'm fighting with a shaman right now, which I need to look at the fact that I'm fighting with a shaman right now and probably shut up and listen to what I'm saying. And I was like, why am I fighting this moment? I did not have another cup. I'll tell you that. That's when I had surgery. I decided to lay down because I wasn't feeling well. And they talked about this in the pre-class. They tell you that surgeries are common and they're done by extraterrestrials. And they always ask consent before they enter your body. This sounds crazy, right? It does. But it actually happened to me, at least in my mind. And these light beings came to me and they said, we're going to perform surgery on you. Is that okay? And they told me to move, to change my direction of my head. They were working on my neck and my back. And while they were doing it, they were saying they were removing generational DNA, like trauma that was in my DNA from my mother's side. And I was like, okay, whatever. I heard about you guys. Do what you got to do. And they did it. And then they also worked on something in my colon that they didn't tell me as much about. And then after that, I was laying there and I turned into an eagle, literally an eagle. I was flying above the most beautiful mountains I've ever seen in my entire life. And while this is happening, I'm reminded of when I was a kid hallucinating, telling my mom that I was flying above the world. I was like, holy shit, I've been here before. I've been this eagle. And that's when Mother Ayahuasca was like, yes, you were the seagull. You are the seagull. The seagull is you. And I then proceeded to fly with another eagle, and we like spun around in circles and vortices. And through these vortices, I'm seeing every atom that ever existed and exists at all moments, and how they interact and how they agree to co-create our realities. This was all shown to me, and it was totally, there's no other word to say but insane. And it felt so real. And it kept talking about everything in reality is a co-creation. Every single existence of everything is a co-creation between the people that are involved and the atoms and the air that we breathe. It's all a co-creation that we are in control of. And they also said that the universe is constantly working in our favor, always. And it's a trickster because it likes to wear masks and it likes to wear costumes and it likes to disguise itself as your creepy uncle or the T word that I don't like talking about, or QAnon. It's all the universe in a mask, but it's there to help you advance yourself. And at that time, they call for another drink. And at this moment, this gigantic eagle warrior, think Egyptian head of an eagle, wings, Native American muscle ripped bod wearing a loincloth, probably about 9 feet tall in front of me. And he was like, yo, I'm you. He's like, you got to get up and go do some ayahuasca. And I was like, no, absolutely not.
Quick question. How much time has elapsed?
That is, well, this is the only way to tell time because they don't allow watches or cell phones in the ceremony. They say the first drink they will call the second drink after an hour and a half. And then the third drink, they said, you can kind of make up your own mind if you want to come have more, but it's usually another hour and a half.
Wow.
And so, and there's things in this story that I'm not telling you because I don't remember or that like weren't as potent as all the other ones, but yeah, so they call another drink and then this eagle warrior is standing above my bed and he's pissed. He's like, you're failing me, brother. Like you need to get up here and drink more ayahuasca. And while this is happening, you can hear the shamans being like, choo, 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 poo, 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 like doing the blessing for other people. And that entire time I'm hearing, you need to do this. You need to do this. And my ego's saying, no, 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 no. And they really said too, they're like, you needed, like, if you can hear it, you got to do it. Go up there and do it. Because they at least always what they said, they were like, nobody's ever died here from drinking ayahuasca. And at that point, after I disappointed the eagle warrior, that was myself, I proceeded to heal my father, who I don't know if many of you know, but my father was diagnosed with cancer before my trip. He has metastasized melanoma on his neck. And what's really weird about this entire thing is that day he was also doing his first doctor's appointment the same day as my ceremony. And I was able to, he was seated clear as day, right in front of me in a throne with my brother behind him in this huge, like, ceremonial headdress with feathers. And my brother was behind him, and me and my brother were surrounded by light beings, and we were pulling smoke out of his body. And it was really powerful. And I sat there and cried for God knows how long. And it was super powerful. And around that, little bit after that time, they call, the lights come on and they call you to do a closing circle. I was still so fucked up that I stumbled up there with a blanket and a pillow and sat there, and it was really beautiful. And we all sat there and we shared these traumatic stories of, I saw this, I saw that, I saw my mom do this, I saw my brother do that. My dead uncle came to me, all of these like really interesting stories that the more that you listen to these people, you realize you were all in it together too. And you sit there and you listen to them puke and run to the bathroom and shit. And you realize that we're literally all in this together and that we're walking each other home. What I shared was the Ram Dass quote for the evening. When they asked me to share, I said, tonight made me really realize that we all are just walking each other home, because we're all in this together. And somehow the 80 people that were together, we were joined together somehow. They tell you not to mingle with each other while you're on ayahuasca, because each person's journey is their own journey, and they may be like laughing and having a good time, and you tap them on the shoulder and they're actually reliving a horrible traumatic event that you helped trigger them, and it just could be bad. So they tell you don't mingle with each other while you're on the drug. And after that first ceremony, they send you off into the night. Like, have fun, go home. And you drunkenly walk back to your house and your room, and you see the stars, and you're with all of these people that were with you. And it was really like kind of powerful to just like walk each other back to each other's rooms and then go back to the room. Sleeping on ayahuasca is another story. It doesn't really happen. At least it was I didn't sleep very well. Most people said they didn't sleep really well, and it's because of the high vibration that is the plant medicine. So then the next day they're like, go to yoga at 7 a.m. The ceremony didn't end until 1 a.m. the night before, and I showed up to yoga the next day, and that was something I was very proud of myself for. And the next day they have another class, and every day after medicine, they have an integration class, and they talk to you about, what did you see? What happened? And you hear some fucked up stories, and you witness people's humanity and their trauma. And you realize that they're exactly the same as you, but with different circumstances. And for me, I was told of the story of the eagle, because I talked about the eagle that I totally manifested into and felt the vibrations of. And they told me that most eagles can live to be around 70 years old. And there comes a point in an eagle's life when they're 35 to 40 years old, which is exactly where I'm at in life, where they have to choose to either die or continue going. And to continue going, they have to land, and they pull out their talons, and they pull out their feathers, and they bang their beak up against rocks, because it's become so unusable because of how long it is that they can't feed themselves with it. And once they do that, they then begin a 5 or 6 month process of regrowing so they can live for the rest of their life. And that just really, really spoke to me really heavily, because I was like, I'm 35 years old, and this seems like what it's happening to me, because my life had become basically unsustainable before this. I was in like a terrible depression and totally like lost. And so that was my integration that I found from the first night. Not all of the ceremonies are going to have a whole thing like this. This is ceremonies 2 and 3. And what's great is they provide you food, they provide you everything that you need so you can focus on yourself. And the next day we had Mr. Beckwith talking about he created the program, and if you can watch him speak, he's amazing. He's like, wow. He's really like clued into reality. And so it was really exciting to go into the second ceremony knowing that I was like bumped up, and I made a personal goal that I was going to drink another cup of ayahuasca, because the warrior eagle was real disappointed in me, and I was real disappointed in me. And so I was going to show up. But this is where things change into, like, you always have good intentions and then shit changes. The next 2 nights were basically, this is the theme. This is a cult. Stay away from me. So they really try and push this drinking thing on you. The second night I drank another cup. And I was very proud that I did. And they continue telling you to drink. And that's when I'm like, you guys are a fucking cult. Calm down. I don't need to drink all this stuff. I feel terrible. I've already thrown up and shit my pants. Like, let's keep it moving. And the song they play for the ayahuasca ceremony seems really culty too, because it's hearing the voice of his grandmother. And so but also the thing is that I'm dealing with is I just spent a year believing that Donald Trump was a cult and the world was a cult in any way or shape or form. And so I'm able to be like, maybe this is just my perception of the reality that is, because nobody else seems to be feeling like this is a cult except me. I literally, at the end of the second ceremony and the beginning of the third day, I thought that they had put drugs in the water because I felt like I couldn't get clean. I was really going through some shit. And on either the second or third night, I cannot remember because they blurred together, I literally felt like I was dying the entire time. And when I would tell this to people, like my roommate, they would be like, you just gotta have faith. You just gotta have faith. And I'm like, that's real fucking easy for you to say, Captain Faithhead, because I'm dying. I can't sleep. I don't want to eat. There's drugs in the water. I'm dying. And that's the third night that I actually died and the world ended in my ceremony. And I don't know how to describe this any other way than imagine the Big Bang, right? There's the Big Bang, which is boom, everything that exists expanding forever, right? That's the Big Bang. What's the opposite of the Big Bang? Like squished, everything squished. And so the majority of the third night, I was literally living in a purgatory cycle that would, the noises that I wouldn't wish it on anybody. And what it is it would show me how horrible, like the world was ended. It's over. There's no more. You can't do anything. It's over. You can't go have a cheeseburger. You can't ride that roller coaster. You can't smell that rose. It's done. Everything's over. And so I'm sitting there sweating because I'm sitting there purging through sweat. I'm also freezing cold. And it's on a loop. It's over, it's over, it's over. And every once in a while, it'll give you a glimmer of remember. And then it's like, oh, no, it's over. See, you can't go back. I could not go to opening or closing circle that night because I was so messed up. It actually probably took me about an hour after closing ceremony to leave my bed. And what after integration, I was able to take from this was that I've been running away from reality in my life, my entire life. And I'm not anymore. I was so full of regret and sorrow and pain that I didn't live life to its fullest, that this was a sign to remind me that I need to wake up and I need to treat every day like it's something special and do what I want to do. It also showed me that I was born dead into this world, which my mom has confirmed. This is probably the most embarrassing thing in my life, but I had pooped in the womb and I had swallowed it and I was born not breathing for 20 minutes. And in this reality, I realized that I entered this world as a soul having to literally fight to breathe. And because of that, I had become extremely reactive and extremely defensive and combative in almost any interaction in my life. And she showed me this through that. I was reborn. I literally was in the room, came through my mother, was dead for 20 minutes, noticed my soul gasping for air while these people worked on me trying to remove all of this shit from my lungs. I immediately threw up all over myself, which I didn't realize until after ceremony when I looked down at my shirt and I was covered in vomit and my bed was in vomit too. But that night, they came through with these bells, and they're called Kashi bells. And they're so beautiful. They had like 9 of them on a thing, and they were all walking around just jingling them. And it was like, I don't know how to describe it other than like the war is over, like the light is here, the fascists have lost, like the good has won. And it was like, it was so amazing to be like alive after that. I then still proceeded to think that there was shit in the water, and I was scared, but that was me still going through my process. On the 3rd night, I was like, one of the nights, I don't even remember, to be honest, I was like, I need to get outside. Get me the hell out of this room with all these people farting and burping and throwing up, and I'm tired of it. And all this smoke where they come by every 3 minutes and they're like pumping smoke in your face, and it's like, get out of here. So I go outside. And this right here is grandfather fire. They keep a fire burning the entire time during the ceremony. And it was like kind of amazing to go out there and witness. And they tell you to introduce yourself to grandfather fire as your full name and the son or daughter or person of your father and your mother. And I did that, and I asked for grandfather father to take my anxieties, and it's amazing how it actually helped. And while I was out there, the stars on 2 cups of ayahuasca, I can't even tell you. They talk to you, they shine, they glimmer, they change colors, they dance. They're like, we're all here together, man, woo! It was amazing. Also, I went during one of the most powerful full moons that we've had in a couple of years. And it was a full moon in Leo, which is my sign. And it was so powerful and so big and so amazing to just watch this beautiful thing that actually we wouldn't be here on this planet without, because of how much control it has over the oceans and everything in our bodies and women's bodies. And the 3rd night, Wednesday, was the Divine Feminine, and it was run by all women. And it was so powerful and so beautiful. And that night, I was like, please get away from me. And so I run out into the grass, and I start walking around, and they have motion detectors that will alert the staff that you've gone outside of a perimeter so they can come corral you. I had unknowingly passed one of these motion sensors, and this guy who called himself July 31st because we had the same birthday, who I thought was part of the cult, came and called me July 31st and tried to corral me. And I'm like, get away from me, buddy. And he's like, you passed the motion sensor. And I'm like, great. And so I went back into the bounds, and I just like plumped down, and I sat in the grass. And he was like, you need to go inside. And I was like, no, I don't need to go inside. You need to go inside. And I sat there in basically this position for, I have no idea, the majority of the evening. I was freezing at one point. I went in and got a blanket, and I actually rubbed my feet raw on the tops of them while I was sitting pretzel style, because I was so full of anxiety. They have since healed, thank you. But while I was sitting there going through this trauma and realizing the relation to this as me as a child and what I've gone through as a child, I realized I was starting to take care of myself for the first time in who fucking knows. Because that's what I needed right there, was to be able to be with myself, hold myself, and just take care of myself and tell people to leave me alone if that's what I need to do, because I didn't do that as a kid. And while this was happening, the person in front of me was in a hammock, and I could hear the hammock. I don't remember her being in it, but you could hear the wind and the hammock going creak, 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 creak. And she said the entire time that she thought I was a long bearded Buddha meditating on top of a cloud, which I was like, isn't that interesting that I'm going through like childhood sexual trauma and standing up for myself and doing all of that. And she saw this amazing spiritual figure just communing with the universe. And as always, the next day you integrate. I was having lots of trouble sleeping and lots of trouble eating, but there's great people that during lunch, they'll come and talk to you and talk about their experiences and what to expect and what they've done. And some people have worked there for lots of years. And a quote that Mr. Beckwith said that really helped me through this is, a bad day for the ego is a good day for the soul. Because all of this dark, like you can't see the light without the darkness. And so you need the darkness to see the light. You need the Donald Trumps of the world and the QAnons to be able to be like, holy crap, look at all the beauty that's actually here that we can take control of and help and foster just by appreciating it. And the last ceremony, the full moon ceremony, this one was 14 hours long. All the other ceremonies were about 6 or so. And this one, they were like, this is the unlimited drink till you drown, like, they didn't say drink till you drown, but like unlimited ayahuasca all night. And this ceremony was 14 hours of forgiveness. And this is a really good picture of what it felt like all basically my entire trip. But we drank this specific brew called Yahe, and it is Colombian, and it comes from a very specific lineage of plant medicine practitioners. And they brew this for 2 days straight. It was the thickest espresso, full of grounds, disgusting, smells like molasses, gross, gross, gross. I think I drank almost a full cup of it. And I was like, fuck this. And I didn't drink for the rest of the night, but that's the night that I didn't hear them call for another drink. Out of all 14 hours, I did not hear them call for another drink because I had jumped on the forgiveness train, and literally a line of people, every single one of you in this chat was there. You all came to me for me to forgive you, which is me forgiving me. And it was so powerful to sit there with every single person I've ever met in my life that I've done something wrong to, or I believe they did something wrong to me, and forgive them. Donald Trump was there. We had a good cry. And I forgave him for the garbage that he's been through, because I was able to empathize and compassionately understand why everybody did what they did to me, or how, or what, or the victimness wasn't there anymore. It was just like full on forgiveness. And after I did that, I did what they call merge with your soul. And you basically have to bargain to get your soul back to you, because they say that somewhere in between the ages of 0 and 5 years old, maybe even 6, there's usually a traumatic event in a child's life that could be as small as my mom yelled at me because I stole a piece of cheese, to like I witnessed my mom murdered or something like that traumatic. That causes us to separate from our souls. And what I viewed my soul as was little itty bitty tiny Jeremy, like 4 years old, that loved playing in the dirt and making mud pies, and like that little kid that was just so full of curiosity. And I had to sit there and remind him and tell him that I would take care of him going forward, because he left a long time ago due to some trauma in my past that I'm sure you all know about. And it was really powerful to be able to literally hold this little kid's hand and be like, I can take care of you now. And I promise to take care of you. It was so powerful that for the rest of the night, I danced until the sun came up. I literally danced. And then for the next week, I would wake up every 20 minutes, absolutely in terror. And what was being shown to me is that when I was a kid, I was molested for 6 years by my next door neighbor, and I couldn't tell my mom. I couldn't tell anybody. And I would literally every night as a kid sit there in terror because I watched some evangelical lady on the news say that if you're gay, you're going to go to hell and you're going to die. And so little tiny Jeremy watched this lady talk about how if you're gay, and I was gay because I was being molested by a man, I was going to die and I was going to go to hell, and I didn't want that. And so every night I would sit there in terror, absolute terror. And I would try and tell my mom, but I would never tell my mom. And it would always end in her being like, go the fuck to sleep. You've been crying for 2 hours, which just only exaggerated it. And so for the next week in Rythmia and outside of Rythmia, I had horrible trouble sleeping. And I would wake up every couple of 30 minutes to an hour with night terrors. And what I was being shown was that I needed to be the person for myself to help myself out of these night terrors. And it was hard, but now I can actually sleep, which is amazing. And I'm going to bed early for the first time like ever, because I'm not afraid to go to sleep. And that was part of the integration. And one of the biggest things about this is don't do ayahuasca in a warehouse with a stranger. Don't do ayahuasca by yourself. Don't do most drugs like that are really meant to be ceremonially done without intention and integration. Those are the things that are absolutely necessary if you're going to be doing drugs like this. And the synchronicities are really something to pay attention to in your life always. But it was the most powerful experience that I think I've ever gone through. And when I was in it, I was like, I don't need this for a while. And now that I'm out of it, I'm like, I could do this every couple of years, like a little spiritual house cleaning. And also I realized that I'm going to go back and I'm going to drink 4 cups of ayahuasca one night because I'm going to show up for myself because I'm worth it finally. Like I feel like I believe it, and it was just so powerful. There's so many, like, I can't even describe in a lot of words, like how powerful this was. One of the lessons there's 2 lessons from this meme, that we're not seeing the whole thing and we are the whole thing, because everything that triggers you is you or is something about you. Anything that bothers you is something that you need to work on in yourself. Anything that you love is actually you loving yourself. Because I always say this quote, where there's only one person in the room, and it's us. And the thing that they say is the answer is you, and you are your miracle. You are the one that can show up for yourself. You're the one that can change yourself. Nobody else can change you. And the universe is always working in your favor, always, even if they're showing you a car accident or it's something that you will need to learn from and see that there's something that this is showing you. And it may not even, you may not know the answer to it until 5 years from now. But everything that you're going through is right now showing you something. And that really rang true to me. As well as our homeboy Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world, because if you don't, no one else will. Because you're in charge. I feel so connected to the planet, more so than I ever have. In these ceremonies, they showed me that every single person that does ayahuasca is doing generations worth of therapy in a night. You are raising the vibration for the planet just by showing up to drink this drink. You are working on yourself, which ultimately changes the entire world. And in conclusion, there's a couple of things. Number one, these are a majority of the beautiful souls that I got to merge with. There's no other way to say it. We were in this all together. We absolutely worked on each other, worked with each other. And what really I learned too is like, there were some, from becoming Facebook friends with these people, there's some QAnon people in this crowd. There are some people that voted for the T word. There are some people that have some really interesting political beliefs that I don't necessarily agree with, but it allowed me to actually be able to see their humanity in a way that it's like, it doesn't matter who you vote for. It doesn't matter. We're all here together, and they're part of the system that is made to make this world better. And I think too, like, I sign up every politician to do ayahuasca, every single one of them. Like, I'll pay for them. I'll start a GoFundMe.
Jeremy, this is a photo of after.
Yeah, this was after.
Everyone looks delighted.
Oh yeah. And this is Friday night. We have basically operated on, I don't know, I'm probably working on 2 hours of sleep. Everybody, we're delirious.
Jeremy, this is amazing. And I love you so much. And I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
I just cannot get over how, and I'm gonna cry, like,
Yeah.
how different you look, how alive you seem, how happy your face is. And I'm just so happy that you told us about all this.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, I would recommend this to anyone. And the stories that you hear of people that had massive drug abuse issues and things like that, or even like abusive, I beat my wife, and them coming out on the other end of this being like, holy crap, my life has changed. I'm never going to beat my wife ever again. And I'm not going to touch, like, I have no urge to drink. I have no urge to use marijuana. I have no urge to self-medicate in any fashion right now because I realize that I don't need to. It's all a distraction, really. It's all a distraction. And what at least I was doing when I was doing it is I was running away from myself by drinking. I was running away from myself by using marijuana. I was running away from the feelings of whatever, bad, whatever, or insecurity, guilt, sadness, whatever feeling, I was running away from it through medicating it somehow.
In hindsight, is there anything that you would have done differently to like prepare or in advance now that you've done it?
Well, the thing that I love about Rythmia is that they send you what to avoid. Don't do this, don't do that. Like, I had stopped, I was using marijuana daily, recreationally, for predominantly all of 2020. And I stopped for 2 weeks because they tell you to be completely stone cold sober for your time there. They also tell you not to have any sort of sexual contact or masturbation or anything for 2 weeks before. They actually are they say 2 weeks, but they also write 3 days. So there's a little bit of room there.
And for
I
that
also
reason,
quit
I'm out.
What?
I said, and for that reason, I'm out.
No, no, you're fine. You're fine. 3 days. Come on. What's 3 days? But I was really serious about it. So I stopped mostly everything for 2 weeks, and I was basically vegan. And they keep you on a very good diet there. So like they prepare you for the best case scenario. And to fully answer your question, things that I would change, in hindsight, I couldn't have changed anything. I wouldn't be the same person I am today if I changed anything. But I would have, and this is what I learned, I would have drank more. I would have listened to them and I would have drank more. Absolutely.
Jeremy.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Naomi?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
Hi. The person who molested you, did it draw you to want to go and forgive him?
He was in the line.
And did you really, seek him out, like find him online or something and tell him that you forgave him?
I don't need to do that.
Okay, that's what
yeah. And that's one of the things that it told me is you don't need to forgive them in real life. You need to forgive them in yourself to allow yourself to forgive, because forgiveness is not for the other person. It's for you. It's for you to let them go. Like, because what we're doing is we're basically we're perceiving our realities, and we're carrying all this fucking baggage behind us. We're carrying these huge suitcases and backpacks and luggage, and we're just dragging it through reality. And once you start forgiving people and doing like, there goes a trunk, there goes a baggage, there goes a something. And so then you can fully arrive in right now without worried about that one time that person did that to me. Now you can be here and be like, I'm here to help facilitate this moment unfolding, not the past, because the past is gone and the future we don't even know.
Jeremy, this was really profound to watch, and I so appreciate you opening up to us like that, because I don't know, I definitely got pretty emotional when you were talking and sharing all of your experience. I did ayahuasca once before, and I don't think I had the courage to do it another time because it was a really impactful experience. But I'm curious to know what coming back, what your integration is now, and what have been the challenges after you've left this sort of like idyllic setting to come back to New York City, which is just like representative chaos and
yeah. I would say if you're going to do ayahuasca again, make sure you book another week on the other end to help you integrate a little bit, because if I would have had to come back to New York City after and experience the night terrors and stuff like that, that would have been so horrible, at least for me. And it was very beautiful that I had this amazing, beautiful house that was shaped like a Balinese temple that I rented for a week, where I was able to go down to the beach every single night and watch the sunset. Integration's a whole lot easier when you're surrounded by people that are like, pura vida, let's drink watermelon juice and watch the sunset. And then the thing is though, and what she told me all the time is that every moment is a ceremony. Every single second you're alive is integration. Every moment is show up, learn what you need to learn, and don't let the past bother you. So integration has been hard. It's been hard, but it's like, you just got to show up for yourself every day. You've got to make a different reality. You've got to make that little, don't judge your past. Just be like me. I'm going to go back to Rythmia in however many months, years, whatever, and I'm going to drink 4 cups of ayahuasca one night. Because that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Or it's like, oh, I didn't do yoga like I said I was going to do. Don't judge yourself. Just do it tomorrow. Or do it right now. Also, trigger warning. I thought this was funny. I don't know if you think it was funny, but oh wait, let me go back. Oh no, not yet. Go back. There we go. When the ayahuasca is too strong and you forget to integrate your experience, you turn into this guy. And then I thought I would end it with, and please, more questions if you have them, a before and after picture of me before ayahuasca and me after ayahuasca. Oh, wait.
Where'd you get that fan?
That's the fan.
I know, but where'd you get it?
Amazon, and I'm
Okay.
ashamed of it. No, Etsy. It was Etsy. Sorry, I'm not
one.
ashamed of it.
Jeremy, I wanted to, when you were talking about I love the term instant forgiveness. Like
mhm.
instant forgiveness for yourself and for everyone else.
Yep.
That's such an awesome.
Well, and that's one of the things that I think I was, because I felt like such a victim my entire life, like everybody's doing something against me or I have to fight my way through things. I had to forgive a lot of people because I felt like they did something to me. And while I was forgiving this gigantic 14-hour train of people that were literally just waiting in line for their forgiveness, it was so magical and amazing that I was able to be like, you're forgiving yourself. Every single time you're forgiving somebody, you're forgiving yourself because you didn't show up the way that you wanted to in that experience, or you took the wrong thing from that experience, or whatever. I was placing judgment on myself. And ultimately them, when it's ultimately me that needed to forgive. And nobody's doing it because of you. That's one of the lessons I learned. Like everybody's so worried about their own stuff that they're not doing it because of you or for you or to you. It's because of their traumas that they're carrying, their baggage they've got dragging behind them. Anybody else?
Here. Hi. First time listener, first time caller. From Texas. First, I would like to make a comment. I feel like watching this, it was great. And I feel like the ayahuasca was more of an apex for you instead of like just this definitive beginning stage, because you had so many of these things you were seeking out and looking for, and it's like you had all these pieces, and I feel like you were able to really just put them together. So you talked about when we came back in 2018, like everything has its part in the world, even the sewer rats in New York, and I look for them now when I go to the subways and stuff. I think it was just such a good like journey and experience. I see you at like the top of this mountain in apex now. So that's my comment. Do people, I have a whole list. Do people ever become like combative and they have to restrain them? Because we put people in the hospital and didn't have to do that too. So yeah, what was that like?
Nobody became combative this time. There were a couple of medical emergencies that happened, but they were handled so easily and beautifully that most people didn't even know they happened. And they were like, from what I heard, one of them was like a panic attack. And another one was a medication interaction that the person did not discuss that they were on that medication. So it was on them, not on the Rythmia, because the second you pay for it, they send you this huge, like, if you're on this drug, this drug, this drug, this drug, this drug, do not do this, or talk with your doctor, work with your doctor to discontinue the use of that drug before you start this drug. But there were stories that they've had to have like bodyguards pushing people down to the ground to
what happens if somebody does that, like sneaks on, is on medication and takes it? What happened?
There's certain things that, like, if you're on antidepressants of some kind, it'll interact and possibly you'll have like more psychosis than is normal on ayahuasca, and might send you into like some bad loops. There's also some like blood thinners and things like that that could, I think they said could cause like heart conditions and things like that. But what's great is they literally have, it's not a hospital like you think of it, but they have like a medical bay that if they need to do something, they can do it. And a doctor, a licensed doctor that's there on staff, physician's assistants, like they have it. And apparently too, with the people that needed to be restrained, they said that usually what happens is they're restrained and then the plant medicine kicks in even more. And then they realize they're like, oh shit, I'm overreacting or I'm freaking out, and it's easily taken care of. But
what was the food like?
so the food was two things. It was vegan predominantly. They did have fish and chicken. And there were literally about 2 days where I barely ate because I was so like exhausted and traumatized and just not hungry. But it was good. It was a little bland because they don't do much salt. Like they don't want you to have too much salt while you're on it. But they also like give you this laundry list of your diet that you should do before. And they're like, no coffee, no this, no that. But then you show up and there's coffee and there's sriracha and there's all these things on the list that you weren't allowed to do. But it's all part of the plan to trigger you and make you feel a certain way and whatever. And also like anything you eat really is, if you believe it's good for you, it's good for you.
Jeremy,
Mm-hmm.
do they take an assessment when you sign up? Do they take an assessment of what kind of psychological background you might have, like a predisposition to being bipolar, or you have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder?
Mm-hmm.
Would that remove you from being eligible to go?
Not necessarily. They make it's pretty much really, it's a trust system a lot of the ways, where it's like they give you this big contract that says if you have this, have been diagnosed with this, you need to tell us. If you're on these medications, you need to tell us, because of course they're wiping their hands clean of any sort of legal recourse. But if you're showing up for yourself to be there, you'll be honest with them. And a lot of the times they'll just tell people, like there was this one lady that had a breakdown on Sunday night because she didn't stop taking her psychotic medication or something for her schizophrenia. And she couldn't go. And so she literally during breath work had a breakdown and just started crying, and it was really powerful. But it's like, you tell them and they'll be able to walk you through it. There's a couple of things that they said are hard passes, but they didn't really talk about what those were. But it was so amazing. And all of the people, like if you look with the group shot, there are like the lady in the center by the guy with the red, she was like 70 years old. And she showed up every night and drank at least 1 cup of ayahuasca. They walked her up there with her cane.
Oh,
like it was powerful.
The
guy that she's
71. She was 70 years old.
I mean, she might have even been older. I'm just assuming that she was in her 70s because she, just the way she looked, the way she was acting, her hair color, and her husband was in his late 60s, I think. Maybe even older. But the thing is too, is there we weren't talking about age. Age doesn't exist in ayahuasca land. And it was so powerful to see these, I don't know, there was really young girls there all the way up to like the twilight years, if you want to call them, like of people. And they even said they shared stories of an 88-year-old woman that went and had a horrible, amazing time.
Okay, so I feel like you skated over shitting your pants. And I don't want to be gross about it,
So
but
they have 6 restrooms there.
okay.
There's
So
4 indoors and 2 outdoors.
On
and
your
mattress. Never
mattress.
trust a fart when you're on ayahuasca.
Well, I don't ever trust them even when I'm just doing anything. But and I swear to God, I'm not asking this question to be funny, but like you showed all of these beautiful mattresses and all that. How
That are
do
cleaned
they
every
clean the
single
doo-doo
night.
out of the mattresses?
There is a staff of people that at the end of a ceremony come in and clean the mattresses. They clean out your buckets of vomit for you. They sterilize, they literally did the laundry every single day. Like it was always fresh sheets, always fresh everything, fresh pillows. It was, and I remember the first night, they tell you don't throw your toilet paper in the bucket. Like if you clean your mouth off, don't throw it in the bucket. So I throw up, I clean my mouth off, and I throw it in the bucket. And at the end of the ceremony, I walk over to one of the shamans who I've already had a conversation with about what I've done for a living. And she was like, "You're not working here this week. This week is for you. Don't worry about it." And that was like really powerful for me to hear. I needed her to be like, "You don't work here this week, okay?
Yeah.
Don't worry about pooping on the bed or throwing up on the bed or like, I'm sure they've seen they've had over 8,000 clients in their 5 years. I'm sure they've seen some stuff."
Yeah. So like,
Jeremy, I'm gonna get going. Thank you for this. This was wonderful. Bye. See you soon. Bye, Elijah.
Have a good night.
say bye to me too, shit.
Bye, y'all.
Jeremy, I gotta go too. I'm so sorry, but thank you. This was
Hi,
amazing.
Martin.
Thank you.
Yep. Have a good one.
So as far as, and like, it's like as far as when you were trying to sleep and you were lying there and you would fall asleep and wake up every 30 minutes or an hour, like what was running through your head? Was it basically a continuation of what you experienced?
Oh, it was anxiety all the way. I would wake up in cold sweats, drenched in my, like, I was sleeping because I was so cold. I was sleeping in sweatpants, a sweatshirt, and a shirt, fully clothed, so cold. And I would wake up, go like shit or something, or go to the bathroom, or like I would walk around kind of and be like, ugh, I felt like I was dying. It was either the after the second ceremony, I think it was the second ceremony, I called medical and I was like, I need to be evaluated. And right before they got there, I talked myself out of it, and I was able to like wake up and go eat breakfast, which made me feel a little better. And I was able to talk with a therapist and they helped me through some stuff, but I felt like I was dying.
Ugh.
The first few nights, like dying like I was waking up like I'm dying, like it's over, I'm dying, it's over.
Ego death.
Yeah.
All the way. Hey.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened. My ego was like, are you ready? Let's die.
It sucks. It's great once you're through, but my God, it is awful.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And that's what they were saying too. They're like, lean into it, buddy. And I didn't get it until fully after I left. Fully. I was experiencing it, but once I was able to like placate myself in the evenings and realize that I'm the one that's here for me to help me and be here for me, that's when I realized that I felt better.
I
So
think that the
your face.
strong. Go ahead.
Why was the guy spitting on you?
I'll have to get the name of it, but it's like alcohol and tobacco, and it's like a shamanic thing that they do they also will put like lotions on you too, and it's all about getting rid of negative energy, and like that's what they were saying. It's about like grounding you, getting rid of the negative energies, and what's crazy is almost everybody got spat on. And it smells weird.
You pay your money, you know.
Yeah. One of the things that they didn't do was apparently they do this thing called rape, which is tobacco snuff, like doing lines of tobacco. And the shaman will normally, it's this weird apparatus where they put tobacco in this thing and they shove it up your nose and blow it into your nose for you. And because of COVID, they aren't doing that right now. But you could do it to yourself with something you could buy in the gift shop, which I was like, I'm not going to be doing lines of tobacco. Thank you.
Now that I know that I can do that instead of smoking, well, hello.
I don't know.
I actually have to hop off because the polar opposite thing is happening on Zoom, which is my Vin Diesel appreciation Zoom that I have to join.
It's all
So,
good.
so nothing could be more opposite, but I love you a lot. And I'm so happy that you carved out the time to let us know about this.
Absolutely.
We laughed, we cried. I cannot wait to hug you.
I'd love to go with anybody that wants to go.
I
When are
mean,
you
It
gonna
sounds
go back?
like something you want to do.
Seth is down. And so I'm gonna show him the recording of this
Sounds
once
good.
it's available. I love you, and I love you all. Mwah, 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 mwah. Michael Long, so happy to see your face.
I survived.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
For the trauma that you said you were reliving and everything, you know how like now, okay, you can think back of the traumatic experiences, and in some ways it's like you're watching things happen. Did you feel like you were watching yourself in the trauma, or did you feel like you were literally reliving the whole traumatic experience?
Mama Aya, as they call her, she's very gentle. She's a high vibrational like being, but she's very gentle, and she wants you to learn what you need to learn from the situation. So when she shows you things, they're there to help you, and you feel it. So it's gentle. It is traumatic, but there's like this way that she separates the you see yourself as it, but it's hard to describe. You identify with it, but you are not it. And she does it to help you.
How much time do you need to allocate to the whole experience, like being there and then like the come down, would you say?
Well, I mean, being there, like you just got to show up, and then the come down, I really liked having a week on the other end. I really liked having that because it's a stepping stool into reality.
And how long?
I would say it would be really hard. It would have been really hard to, if I had like a corporate job or something, to like have to go back to corporate land 3 days after doing ayahuasca, because you're still like thinking you're the long-haired Buddha, being like, ooh, and then everybody in your world's going to be like, I would say 2 weeks if you're going to really, or at least there's got to be some buffer on the other end where you are able to come back to your reality and acclimate.
Jeremy, thank you so much. It's a beautiful presentation. I promised Tom I'd walk with him, and it's still sunny out.
Enjoy the sunset.
In the New Mexico sun,
Yeah.
so I want to enjoy it.
Thank you for being here.
All.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Hi, Jeremy. Jack.
Oh, Jack's got a question now.
No, I yield, please, whoever the other person is.
Parliamentary inquiry.
This is my last question. So have you thought of any goals for the future, or what you want to do moving forward, since you seemed kind of in a middle point, like career-wise? And have you put any thought to the healing all of the souls that somebody foresaw for you?
So I definitely think that in the near future, New York is not for me for right now, because I need more nature in my life. Because that's a huge part of me as a little kid, was always loving hanging out in nature. And I feel a call to an extent, and I'm making baby steps into it, to possibly do some consulting with Rythmia, because they're actually, from what I've heard, is going to open a new high-end version of Rythmia for the like elite clientele. So I've worked on an email that I'm going to send them to be like, what can I do for you in this situation? But like what has happened to me my entire life when I've made big changes, thank you, Jack, for this. All you have to do is show up. That's the first rule, because you can't do anything if you don't show up. And so I've been meditating every day, and I've been listening to signs, and right now I need to go home because my dad's gonna have surgery next month. So that's what I'm focusing on at this moment. But I know that after that, like she's done to me many a time, the walls will crumble around me of my, at least what I've built around me for the past, 6 years, will reorganize and shuffle into what they need to be.
Oregon is looking at open something like a ayahuasca there, and
Really?
they have a lot of nature too. So
yeah, I mean I'm open to all possibilities, whichever one's called to me the loudest.
Great.
Anyone else? Sazi, you were going to say something?
I gotta go.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, y'all.
When are you going to go back?
I don't know yet, but it's definitely probably in the year mark, somewhere within that time. I really liked Mr. Beckwith. He did a really great job, and I would probably go back to see him. They also have this crazy guy named Taita Juanito, and they do coconut sized glasses of ayahuasca when he's there. I don't know if I'm down for coconut glasses of ayahuasca, but I've yet to find something else in ayahuasca land that puts the amount of care and detail and than Rythmia.
Mm-hmm.
Like they really are focused on changing lives. It's not just like, come do drugs with us and then leave. Anybody else?
Jack was going to say something. Speak up, Jack.
Hi. Hi.
Hi. Oh, hello. The boys.
You may have answered this earlier in a different way, but during your free time, what were some of the activities you enjoyed?
So I got 2 colonics, which were great.
Nice.
Massage. I did the cold plunge and the hot plunge steam room. The just laying in a hammock is amazing. Like also like the free time, it's very elusive, because usually you're like, oh, free time, I have an hour. That means I need to shove food in my face before I go to the next class or the next workshop or whatever. A lot of it was spent connecting with people too, sharing each other's experiences and bonding. Like I have, at least, I don't know if they're all on Facebook. There's like 50 people now that I have that are new friends that I'm contacting with. Every day we have a group chat and we're texting about integration and everything. A lot of it was spent hanging out with other people, sharing experiences.